Hey friends, I'm Josh, and I just want to talk about church stuff for a few minutes. Thanks for taking a little bit of your day to get caught up on things that are going on in the life of Redeeming Grace Church. And yesterday was February 7th of 2021, and it was a significant day. Not because Tom Brady won his 7th Super Bowl, which as a Broncos fan, I don't know how to feel about that, although the Chiefs did lose, so I guess that's a positive, but Tom Brady got another Super Bowl, so that's not great. But anyway, the more important thing that happened yesterday is that we kicked off our beginning series through the book of Genesis. And we're going to spend a lot of time in this book. It's 50 chapters, and we intend to go through the whole thing. We're going to try to keep a good pace, but this book is just really significant. I mean, it's the foundation book of the whole Bible. You don't get God right, you don't get Jesus right, you don't get sin right, you don't get humanity right, you don't get the universe right, you don't get government right, you don't get any of that stuff right unless you really have a good understanding of what Genesis is teaching. And as I was thinking about, hey, in a sense, Redeeming Grace Church is still in its beginning. It's Genesis as a church. And we just finished a book that starts with the words, "In the beginning was the Word," and we learned about Jesus, the life of Jesus from the Gospel of John. Maybe it would be wise, as we're still in the beginning of our church, to go to the other beginning book, which starts with, "In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth." And so that's what we're going to do. We're just going to spend these first season of our church looking at the beginnings. The beginning according to John, and the beginning according to Genesis, and how those two overlap. And what we did yesterday is just looked at Genesis 1:1, which I would say is probably one of the top 3 most significant verses in the Bible, most important verses in the Bible. And we just spent some time unpacking that as just an intro to the whole series, an intro to the whole Bible, an intro into everything that exists in eternity and everything. And so it was great. We had a great time together. And if you didn't get a chance to catch that message, it's really foundational for everything else that we're going to do in this series. So if you didn't get a chance to check that out, you can find our service on YouTube. You can find the message on our website or on our podcast. You can download it on podcast as well. And we just encourage you to keep up with us in the series. I think it's going to be really beneficial. I think it's going to make a lot of sense of the pressures we feel in the culture, the realities we deal with in our own heart, the interpersonal relationships that we have, and ultimately how we relate to God. And so would encourage you to follow along with the series in whatever way you can. And thank you for those of you that did brave the snow and the cold. If you didn't, I totally understand. But for those that came, man, I really appreciate it. We had a sweet time yesterday in service. And thank you for those of you that served, especially those of you that swept and shoveled sidewalks for like an hour before people got there. So, because you probably had to shovel your own driveway just to get there. And you thought ahead enough to shovel yourself out and then make the way here so that you could spend some time shoveling here so that people would have an easier time getting to church. And that just says so much about your character. That says so much about Christ in you and in us as a church, the culture we have, that there's a servant-hearted selflessness that permeates the life of our church. And thank you for all of you in all the ways that you serve, whether that's with kids or on worship team or set up and tear down or just being a nice person on Sunday that greets people and encourages folks. And especially those of you that shoveled this Sunday. Really was encouraging to me, and thank you for being that kind of person. And I pray that we don't have to do that too often, but I'm really grateful to know that we have a church that is eager to serve one another. That is a good sign to me that the gospel is taking root in our hearts and our lives. Another thing that was really significant, oh, my earbud fell out. Another thing that was really significant yesterday is that we had our Next Steps lunch right after church. We haven't been able to have one of those since last February, and it's really a sweet time where we just gather a few, we intentionally keep it small, just a few people who are newer to our church, still kind of figuring out who we are. We just gather them in a lunch. We give them a gift saying, hey, thank you for considering our church. And then what I do is I just share for a little bit of my story, who I am, who the Brown family is, how we came to Christ, all of that stuff. So they get a sense of who's leading this thing. And then also just talk about how our church began, why it began, what it is, how it works. And then I just tell them how they can take the next step of being involved. And that can be in the ways like home groups and Bible studies and service and that kind of stuff. But I also take a good amount of time to just encourage them to consider covenant membership in our church. That if they've come to faith in Christ, they should also join in a local church, and maybe this local church, we would love to have you join our team. And so I just unpack what that looks like in a real basic form, that and how we see that in the Bible, and why that's a good thing for them and their souls, and why that's a good thing for our church in light of our mission. It's the terms of the agreement. We can't accomplish our mission unless we agree to the terms of the mission. And if the members really lead the church, really direct the church, as I think the Bible teaches, pastors have to equip them to do that. And this is my way of going, who wants to be equipped to do their job? And here's how I'm going to equip you to do it. And then, man, off we go and we accomplish the mission. So my son, I was just thinking about this. My son has to agree to that. Like the mission of 6th grade basketball at North Middle School, my son has to sign off on, you know? And so that's not some big cosmic mission, but the only way that it works is if he knows when to show up, knows what's expected of him. He wears the team jersey, wears the right shoes. He shows up, plays well with his teammates, has the right attitude, plays according to the rules. Like there's a whole framework of things that he has to agree to if he's going to enjoy playing basketball at North Middle School. And the same, I think, is true of the church. Like if something as insignificant as that in eternity, if we've been given this mission of God to represent the King and his kingdom in this place, how much more should we be agreed to and committed to a certain code of conduct, a certain terms of agreement, which we call the New Testament and summarize in a church covenant? How much more important is it for us when people's eternities are on the line, the glory of God's on the line, that we have a process by which we bring people into that in a formal way, in a way to hold one another accountable, to share in the joy of being on that team together. So that's what the Discover RGC class is that before you make this commitment, or even if you're just want to, even if you're not quite ready to make that, just to know what it is, what the New Testament teaches about that stuff. That's the Discover RGC class, and I invite people at the Next Steps lunch to do that. So I've got two things to tell you out of this. One is that the next Steps lunch is March 7th after church, and would love to have you sign up for that. We've got a number of people that want to come, so sign up quickly. We had to close this one off because it got full, and that one's probably going to fill up pretty quickly too. So find that one, sign up for it, get a free lunch. Hear my story, hear the church's story, and hear about kind of why we do what we do and how we do it. Secondly, the Discover RGC class is going to start this coming Sunday at 9:15 to 10 o'clock, so kind of the Sunday school hour before service. And just come, and you do not have to come to the Next Steps lunch first to come to that. You don't really even have to be interested in membership to come to that. You just have to be kind of willing to sit through how we explain how it works. And so it's going to happen for about 3 or 4 weeks as we just walk through our doctrine, our covenant, our structure. And it is the next step in the membership process, but it doesn't commit you necessarily to be a member. It just explains how the thing works, how the machine operates. And so would encourage you to consider jumping in on that. If you're already a member, you could come and just kind of get a refresher course, have your heart stirred towards, oh yeah, this is what we're about. If you are interested in becoming a member, that's what this class is designed for, is to kind of get you up to speed and show you what is expected. If you are not interested in membership at all, but would still like to just come and kind of hear what we think about these kind of things and walk through some really helpful content, you're welcome to come as well. So starts this Sunday, 9:15 to 10 o'clock, and we'll run for about 3 or 4 Sundays. And then obviously I already mentioned the March 7th Next Steps lunch, which you could sign up for as well. So we've got the usual stuff going on, home groups, furniture delivery, Tuesday morning men's Bible study through Ecclesiastes, 6:30 prayer meeting. We've got other classes that are going for all ages at 9:15 on Sundays. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of ways that you can get involved. We've given lots of different options of how you can do Christian-y things with us, and to the glory of God and for the edification of our souls. And hope you'll consider jumping in on something. Let me know if there's a way I can pray for you and encourage you. I'd love to get lunch and coffee. Just let me know and we'll set something up. And hopefully I'll see you sometime this week, if not on Sunday. Love you. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and consider taking a next step. Bye.